An attractive young woman who is perceived to have both sex appeal and a personality that is especially engaging is what's known as an it girl. The first woman to truly encapsulate this was Clara Bow. However, behind her bubbly smile on screen was a lifetime's worth of pain. In this episode, we're going to take a look into the life and career of the woman who personified the era known as the Roaring Twenties. Before we begin, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, please support us on all platforms. The links will be in the description box below. Without further ado, let's take a look into the world of Clara Bow. Enjoy. Clara Gordon Bow was born on July 29, 1905 in Brooklyn, New York. She was the third child born, but her sisters had died in infancy. Doctors had warned her mother Sarah not to get pregnant again. When she did, it was on the onset of a massive heat wave that struck New York the year Clara was born. Recounting her birth years later,
I don't suppose two people ever looked death in the face more clearly than my mother and I the morning I was born. We were both given up, but somehow we struggled back to life.
things would only get harder for her as she was essentially denied a childhood. After suffering a severe head injury as a teenager, Clara's mother Sarah was later diagnosed with psychosis due to epilepsy, and her daughter had to learn at a young age to take care of her. Clara not only had to help her physically, but also mentally. Sarah had moments of hostility, which made growing up a constant challenge for her daughter.
As a kid, I took care of my mother. She didn't take care of me.
Things only got worse when she told her mother that she was going to embark on a movie career, and the reply she got back was that she would be better off dead. Sarah was later committed to a sanitarium by her husband Robert after she reportedly tried to attack Clara with a butcher knife. Growing up, she was ostracized by the girls in her school.
I never had any clothes, and lots of time didn't have anything to eat. We just lived, that's about all. Girls shunned me because I was so poorly dressed.
As for the boys,
I could lick any boy my size. My right arm was quite famous. My right arm was developed from pitching so much. Once, I hopped a ride on behind a big fire engine. I got a lot of credit from the gang for that.
during this time, she had a close friend who was a younger boy. Sadly, he would burn to death even as Clara tried to douse the flames. He died in her arms, a sight that haunted her for the rest of her life. High school proved to be a different experience for her as she changed her appearance and got involved in athletics.
I wore sweaters and old skirts. Didn't want to be treated like a girl. There was one boy who had always been my pal. He kissed me. I wasn't sore. I didn't get indignant. I was horrified and hurt. I knew I could never go back to being a tomboy.
As an athlete, she won 5 medals at the Cinder Tracks and even planned to have a career as a fitness instructor. However, at the same time, Clara found her true calling in motion pictures. Movies have often been used as a means for the audience to escape into a different world for just a couple of hours. It's a therapeutic way to deal with the rigors of daily life. Clara Bow took this to heart when she saw these glimmering images on the silver screen.
For the first time in my life, I knew there was beauty in the world. For the first time, I saw distant lands, serene, lovely homes, romance, nobility, glamour. I always had a queer feeling about actors and actresses on the screen. I knew I would have done it differently. I couldn't analyze it, but I could always feel it. I'd go home and be a one-girl circus taking the parts of everyone I'd seen, living them before the glass.
In the fall of 1921, Clara Bow entered a Fame and Fortune acting contest. She made it all the way to the finals, becoming runner-up. The judges concluded, and I quote, "She is very young, only 16, but she is full of confidence, determination, and ambition. She is endowed with a mentality far beyond her years. She has a genuine spark of divine fire." The 5 different screen tests she had, showed this very plainly, her emotional range of expression provoking a fine enthusiasm from every contest judge who saw the tests. She screens perfectly. Her personal appearance is enough to carry her to success without the aid of the brains she indubitably possesses. While this wasn't enough to initially land her any film roles, she was told by her father to haunt the company that held the contest. After a while, she was finally introduced to director William Christie Caban, who cast her in his 1922 film, Beyond the Rainbow. That same year, Clara appeared in Down to the Sea in Ships. Her performance really stood out amongst her peers. Some of her reviews include quotes like, "Miss Bow will undoubtedly gain fame as a screen comedienne. She scored a tremendous hit in Down to the Sea in Ships, and has reached the front rank of motion picture principal players. With her beauty, her brains, her personality, and her genuine acting ability, it should not be many moons before she enjoys stardom in the fullest sense of the word. You must see Down to the Sea in Ships." In movie parlance, she stole the picture. In 1924, Clara Bow was chosen as a Western Association of Motion Picture Advertisers, or WAMPA's, baby star, which showed young actresses who were close to stardom. Clara in particular was the most successful WAMPA's baby star. This was evident in Black Oxen, where Clara played the role of Janet Oglethorpe. Director Frank Lloyd was looking for an actress who could perfectly play the part of the high society flapper.
He had not found exactly what he wanted, and finally somebody suggested me to him. When I came into his office, a big smile came over his face, and he looked just tickled to death.
Lloyd himself raved about her to the press. Bow is the personification of the ideal aristocratic flapper, mischievous, pretty, aggressive, quick-tempered, and deeply sentimental. Clara's star was quickly rising. Over the next few years, she starred in films like Poison Paradise, The Forbidden Story of Monte Carlo, Wine, The Plastic Age, Dancing Mothers, and Mantrap. It was 1927, however, that saw Clara Bow reach her peak of stardom. In 1926, she signed a 5-year contract with Paramount Pictures. Her starting salary was $1,700 a week, and by her last year was $4,000 a week. Considering the time period, that was an incredible amount of money. Paramount clearly saw how special she was, which was reflected in her most famous film, It. It was a serialized novella written by Eleanor Glynn, who also adapted it for film and even appeared in it as herself. Clara plays Betty Lou Spence, a poor shop girl who conquers the heart of her employer Cyrus, played by Antonio Moreno. The term "it" is defined in the film as quality possessed by some which draws all other with its magnetic force. This was very accurate as the film was a monumental hit for both Clara and Paramount. I would like to highlight some of her reviews. From the New York Times, Bow is vivacious and, as Betty Lou, saucy, which perhaps is one of the ingredients of It. From the Film Daily, Clara Bow gets a real chance and carries it off with honors, and she is really the whole show. Finally, from Variety, you can't get away from this Clara Bow girl. She certainly has that certain it, and she just runs away with the film. Check out this clip from It, showing Clara Bow and Antonio Moreno's characters at Coney Island. While It would become her most famous film, another 1927 film would gain more recognition due to its significance in cinema history. This film was called Wings. Directed by William Wellman, who was a pilot in the First World War, went for realistic air combat sequences. The studio assigned Clara Bow as the lead star since she was proven to be a safe bet in terms of box office. Even though the film had to be rewritten to accommodate her, she still played her part perfectly, although she wasn't fond of her part.
Wings is a man's picture, and I'm just the whipped cream on top of the pie.
Clara needn't worry though, because Wings would become the recipient of the very first Academy Award for Best Picture during the first ceremony in 1929. Since she was the main star, Clara Bow's legacy was forever cemented in cinema history. Fun fact, the film also featured a very young Gary Cooper in a small role. This launched his Hollywood career. I want to show another clip, this time from Wings. Enjoy. I found a very interesting quote about Clara from screenwriter Adela Rogers St. John's. She had written many screenplays for the It Girl and perfectly summed up her on-screen persona. She wrote, "There seems to be no pattern, no purpose to her life. She swings from one emotion to another, but she gains nothing, stores up nothing for the future. She lives entirely in the present, not even for today, but in the moment. Clara is the total nonconformist. What she wants, she gets, if she can. What she desires to do, she does. She has a big heart, a remarkable brain, and the most utter contempt for the world in general. Time doesn't exist for her, except that she thinks it will stop tomorrow. She has real courage because she lives boldly. Who are we, after all, to say she is wrong?" 1927 also had another notable event. Warner Brothers had released their sound film, The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson. This film would signal the end of silent films. Unlike many other silent stars, Clara Bow was able to successfully transition to sound, with hits like The Wild Party, Dangerous Curves, and The Saturday Night Kid. However, she didn't take to sound with much enthusiasm.
I hate talkies. They're stiff and limiting. You lose a lot of your cuteness because there's no chance for action, and action is the most important thing to me. Now they're having me sing. I sort of half sing, half talk, with hips and eye stuff. You know what I mean, like Maurice Chevalier. I used to sing at home and people would say, "Pipe down, you're terrible." But the studio thinks my voice is great.
By the end of 1929, she said her nerves were all shot. Clara Bow continued to have great success in sound films until she left Paramount in 1931. Some of her last films with them include Paramount on Parade, True to the Navy, Love Among the Millionaires, and Her Wedding Night. By the time she left the studio, she was emotionally drained from the pressures of fame, scandals, and overwork, which finally took their toll on the 25-year-old. She and her husband Rex Bell left Hollywood to live on Bell's Nevada ranch. News of her leaving Paramount had every studio competing for her talents. The closest I believe anyone came before she did accept a role was Irving Thalberg at MGM, who wanted to cast her in Red-Headed Woman. Clara initially agreed to the script, but when Thalberg told her she would have to sign a long-term contract to star in the film, she turned it down. The role eventually went to Jean Harlow and became a huge hit. Clara eventually signed a 2-picture deal with Fox Film Corporation. She starred in Call Her Savage and Hoopla, both of which were successful. After the Wall Street crash of 1929, Flapper Girls seemed to go out of fashion with the public, as it was seen as an uneasy reminder of what was seen as Hollywood's high society. The problem was that Clara did nothing wrong.
They yell at me to be dignified. But what are the dignified people like? The people who are held up as examples for me? They are snobs, frightful snobs. I'm a curiosity in Hollywood. I'm a big freak because I'm myself.
Years later, she reflected on her career.
My life in Hollywood contained plenty of uproar. I'm sorry for a lot of it, but not awfully sorry. I never did anything to hurt anyone else. I made a place for myself on the screen, and you can't do that by being Mrs. Alcott's idea of a little woman.
As time went on, she experienced health issues and checked herself into the Institute of Living in Hartford, Connecticut. Numerous tests were administered to her, including shock treatment. There were conflicting theories among the doctors about her diagnosis, and eventually she decided to leave. By this time, she had 2 sons, Tony and George, who were a teen and preteen respectively. After leaving the institute, Clara decided to live alone in a bungalow for the rest of her life. She rarely left it. On September 27, 1965, Clara Bow died of a heart attack. Despite her personal issues off-screen, her on-screen talents were immortalized on film and continue to entertain new generations of classic film fans to this very day. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and in 1994 was honored with an image on a U.S. postage stamp. We hope you've enjoyed this look into the life and career of Clara Bow. I would like to thank my amazing sister Sabrina Alamo for her portrayal of the It Girl, and of course my partner in crime Joe Lewis for another fantastic editing job. All links to the show's social media pages will be down below. Until next time, stay safe and we'll see you again soon.